The explosion didn't give her time to scream. 1 second, Han Unri was stepping out of her sleek silver sedan in the underground garage. The next, a violent burst of heat punched into her back, hurling her to the concrete as alarms wailed and flames swallowed the car behind her. Her palms scraped open. Her knees burned. Her heart didn't. Because fear wasn't an emotion she allowed herself anymore. But even Unri couldn't ignore the fact that someone had just tried to kill her.
Seo-han.
Footsteps thundered down the ramp. Obina Patrick, tall, athletic, dressed in a black shirt rolled to his elbows, sprinted toward her through the haze. His voice carried something she rarely heard directed at her. Concern. He dropped to her side, chest rising fast. Don't move. Don't, just stay low, okay? She pushed herself upright, breath shaky despite her composed expression.
I've seen it.
You're bleeding. It's superficial. He stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Your car exploded. Yes. She wiped dust off her skirt. I noticed. Another distant pop echoed, the second car catching fire. Obina's hand gripped her arm instinctively, pulling her closer to his side. She didn't protest. Security guards rushed down, shouting, radioing, panicking. But Obina didn't panic. He only tightened his hold on her waist as he guided her into the stairwell. Once they were inside, the silence was almost too loud. He looked at her carefully. You should be shaken. I don't have time to be shaken. Someone tried to kill you. She inhaled, slow, controlled.
No.
Someone sent a message. His jaw flexed.
To you.
Who else? She brushed off her skirt again. Let's go upstairs. I need to. No, he said. It stopped her mid-step. No, she repeated. You need to sit down for 1 minute. Your hands are shaking. She glanced at her fingers. They were.
Barely.
She hid them behind her blazer. You're new, she said softly. You don't understand how this world works yet. Then explain it to me. His eyes held hers, strong, steady, and far too honest. She hated how it disarmed her for half a second. You're my PA, she said. You're not supposed to question me. Maybe not. He stepped closer. But I'm also the one who just pulled you away from an exploding car. So forgive me if I'm not ready to pretend nothing happened. That hit deeper than she expected. She exhaled and finally nodded.
Fine.
1 minute. It was the first command she had ever obeyed from an employee. Upstairs, the entire executive floor buzzed like a disturbed beehive. Directors whispered. Legal panicked. PR tried to hide it. Everyone stared at her. She ignored all of them and walked into her office. Obina followed silently, closing the door behind them. As soon as it clicked shut, her mask cracked, just a hairline fracture in the steel. Someone accessed the basement 10 minutes before I arrived, she said. Security logs were wiped. He frowned. Inside job. Most likely. He paced, thinking quickly. You said someone sent a message. What message? That I'm not in control. She said it almost casually, but the tremor beneath the words was unmistakable, a tremor only someone standing this close would hear. He studied her face. Beautiful, sharp, intimidating, but right now slightly human in a way she would never allow anyone else to see. CEO Han, his voice softened. Who would want to scare you like that? She looked away. Pick a name. That many? My board wants more power. Competitors want my downfall. Former partners want revenge. And some people just don't like a woman standing at the top. And me? He asked quietly. Do I belong on that list too? Her head snapped toward him. Why would you say that? He hesitated. Someone sent me something last night. What? A message. No subject line. He pulled out his phone, scrolling until he found it. He handed it to her. She read the single line. Working for her will get you killed. Choose a side while you still can. A chill spiraled down her spine. For you to receive something like this, she said slowly, someone is watching you too. Looks like it. Her heartbeat quickened. Not from fear this time, but something else. Something dangerous. You're not in trouble because of me, she said. This is my world. My enemies. He shook his head. Then they need to understand I'm not afraid of them. She almost smiled. Almost. There was a knock.
Loud.
Aggressive. Director Kong barged in without waiting.
Seo-han.
I heard about the explosion. This is unacceptable. Shareholders are terrified. We need an emergency meeting. She straightened, mask snapping back into place.
I'm aware.
We also heard, Kong continued, glaring at Obina, that your new assistant was in the garage before the incident. Her blood went cold. Obina froze. Kong leaned forward. Interesting timing, don't you think? Unri's voice dropped to a dangerous low.
Leave. Now. Seo-han.
I said get
out.
He left, slamming the door. Silence again. Unri turned back to Obina, her voice steady but her eyes storming. Were you in the garage before me? Yes, he said immediately. But not near your car. I got here early because… You don't owe me excuses, she said quickly. But she looked shaken. Truly shaken. Someone wants me to doubt you, she whispered. Someone wants to break my foundation from the inside. He stepped closer. Then don't let them. Her breath hitched the tiniest bit. Look, he murmured. If you want me to quit, I'll quit. If you want me to stay, I'll stay. Just tell me which one keeps you alive. The question hung between them. Intimate, raw, terrifying. She swallowed hard. Stay, she said. Just that one word. A knock interrupted them again. Softer this time. Minji poked her head in nervously.
Seo-han.
Public Relations wants to know if you'd like to release a statement about the explosion or pretend it didn't happen. Unri lifted her chin. We don't pretend here. Draft a statement. Obina will review it first. Minji blinked. He will. Yes. When the door closed again, Unri turned back to him. Whoever sent that message, she said, wants to separate us. He nodded. Then we don't give them what they want. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar. A flicker of trust. A dangerous beginning. If you're still watching and you're already pulled into this firestorm, you might want to hold your breath. This is only a tip of the iceberg. Security sealed off the underground parking lot within hours, but the explosion had already leaked into the news cycle. The media vans parked outside the building looked like vultures waiting for a corpse to drop. In her office, Unri stood perfectly still as her PR team spilled frantic words around her like scattered glass. We can't confirm anything yet. The journalists are connecting it to the leak story. CEO Han, the shareholders are demanding. Enough, she said quietly. Silence hit the room so hard it felt like the oxygen dropped. Her beauty in that moment was almost frightening. Sharp, sculpted cheekbones, dark eyes burning with intelligence and quiet fury, posture straight like a blade. She didn't raise her voice, didn't swear, didn't shake. But the room trembled anyway. We are not feeding panic, she said. Draft one statement. Clear, concise.
No guessing. No speculating.
Her gaze shifted to where Obina stood in a corner, calm, observant, hands behind his back, absorbing every detail. Obina will review it before it goes out.
PR blinked.
Why, your PA? Yes, she said. He has better judgment right now than half my board. A few people exchanged looks. Obina didn't react, but inside, his pulse kicked up. Her trust meant more than she realized. When the room cleared, she finally sat down, not because she was tired, but because she needed stillness to think. The explosion wasn't random. The leak wasn't random. The anonymous message to Obina wasn't random. Someone was orchestrating all of this. Her phone buzzed with another alert. Board group chat. Director Kong. We need a full audit of all employees, starting with the new hires. She locked her jaw. Obina approached slowly. You okay? No, she answered, honest for once. But I'm functional. He nodded. Functional is enough. She lifted her eyes to him. They're coming for you. I know. Kong already asked me for access to my personal phone. Did you give it?
No.
Good. He shifted slightly closer, lowering his voice. Do you think they suspect me? Or are they using me to pressure you? She considered him carefully. You threaten them. Me? You're competent. Smart.
Calm.
Hardworking. You don't fear them, and they don't understand that. People fear what they don't understand. He held her gaze. Do you fear me? Her breath caught for a second.
No.
She wasn't sure if it was a lie. Before either could speak again, her computer chimed, an email notification. The anonymous file Obina had forwarded earlier had finally landed in her secured inbox. We're opening it now, she said. I'll get IT.
No.
If it's a setup, I won't let anyone else get trapped. Sit beside me. He pulled a chair next to hers, their shoulders nearly touching. He smelled faintly of citrus and something warmer, like cedarwood. A scent that lingered without forcing itself. She double-clicked the zip file. A progress bar appeared. Her throat tightened. Inside were 3 video clips, all labeled the same way. Group internal, do not share. Obina leaned in slightly. Play the first one. She clicked. The video showed her office, before sunrise yesterday. A tall figure entered. Hooded.
Gloved.
They moved with precision, heading straight for her desk, plugging in a small device. A data extraction tool. Her stomach dropped. Someone accessed my private system, she whispered. Obina's brows furrowed. This is camera 07A. She nodded. Which is supposed to be disabled. I had it turned off 2 years ago. Then someone turned it back on, he said grimly. Clip 2. The hooded figure left her office and walked through the executive corridor during a time no one was supposed to be in the building. Clip 3. This time, the footage was from the basement garage. The same hooded figure placed something under her car. Her blood ran cold. This was the bomb. Pause there, Obina whispered. She froze the screen. He zoomed in on the reflection on a distant car window. Not the bomber's face, that was hidden. But someone else was partially visible at the far end of the frame.
Tall.
Broad shoulders. White shirt. It looked exactly like. No, he muttered. That's not, wait. He leaned closer. Unri swallowed hard. Is that you? It looks like my clothes, he admitted. But I wasn't there at that time. I swear. I know, she said immediately. He blinked. You know? She turned her chair toward him. If you planted a bomb under my car, you wouldn't have been running toward me when it exploded. He stared at her for a moment, surprised by the faith she didn't even realize she'd given him. But faith was dangerous in her world. A soft knock interrupted them. Minji entered timidly. CCO Han, the police want to speak with you. They need your statement about the explosion. Tell them to wait, she said. They also want to question him. Minji glanced awkwardly at Obina. Obina stiffened.
Understood.
No one questions my staff without my authorization. If they want something from him, they come through me. Why, yes, ma'am. Minji left quickly. When the door closed, Obina exhaled. You're putting yourself in the line of fire. No, she said. I'm preventing idiots from making this worse. CO, Han, this could ruin you. Or expose the truth. He shook his head slightly. You're risking your reputation for someone you barely know. Her voice dropped lower. I don't need decades to read a person. He swallowed hard. And what have you read about me? Her hand lifted, hovering near his face, then she stopped herself. She wasn't used to tenderness. It scared her more than bombs did. You're either the best thing to walk into this company, she whispered, or the most dangerous. He didn't flinch. What if I'm both? Her chest tightened. Before she could speak, her phone vibrated with a new message. A private number. She opened it. You're protecting the wrong man. Check the timestamp. Her eyes widened. She rushed back to the paused video. Obina, what time did you arrive yesterday? 6:20 a.m. She looked at the timestamp on the garage footage. 6:19 a.m. 1 minute before he claimed he arrived. Her breath hitched softly. He froze. That's impossible. So prove it, she whispered. His pulse hammered. I will. But you have to believe me for a few minutes. Belief is expensive, she murmured. And I've paid too much already. Something in his expression shifted. Frustration, desperation. something fiercely human. Then let me earn it. She didn't answer. Outside her window, the city glittered like broken glass, sharp and beautiful, just like the line they were walking. And somewhere below, someone watched her office lights and smiled. They had successfully planted the first seed of doubt. The timestamp between 6:19 and 6:20 hung in the air like a blade. Eun-ri didn't accuse him. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't even blink too fast. But her silence was worse than anger. Obina stood completely still, breathing carefully, like any sudden movement might shatter the fragile space between them. I arrived at 6:20, he said softly. I remember because I checked the digital clock above the security desk. Her eyes stayed on the screen. But the camera says 6:19. Then the camera is wrong.
She didn't respond.
He swallowed. Do you think I'm lying? A long moment passed. She finally answered. I think someone wants me to think you're lying. That wasn't comfort. It was a confession of fear. He stepped closer. Let me explain something before this gets worse. She met his eyes slowly, and he could see what she was trying so hard to hide. Not mistrust, but hurt. Not because she thought he betrayed her, but because someone had planted a seed deep enough to make her question herself.
Go on, she said.
I arrived early yesterday because I had a call from home. A difficult one. His voice faltered briefly. I didn't take the elevator immediately. I walked around outside to clear my head. And your phone? She asked quietly. Why decline so many calls? His jaw clenched. Because the last time I answered a call from Nigeria, my entire life changed in a way I wasn't ready for. She studied him. What does that mean? He hesitated, really hesitated for the first time since she'd met him. It means someone from my past has found me here. She stared. He continued, voice lower. I didn't lie about my time, but I might have moved differently than usual. And someone used that to frame me. The room felt too small suddenly. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed, the special line only high-level legal and government contacts had access to. She checked the caller ID. It's the police again. Obina exhaled. Let me speak with them. No, she said immediately. They'll twist your words. You don't know that. I know men like Kong will make sure they do. He looked at her closely. Then what do you want me to do? Her voice softened to a whisper. Stay close. And don't trust anyone. There was something intimate in the way she said it. Not romantic, not yet, but deeply personal. Like she was letting him into a place she didn't realize she had opened. She stood abruptly. We're going downstairs. To the police? No, she grabbed her blazer.
To security.
If someone is altering timestamps, I want to see the server room myself. He followed her down 3 floors to the restricted level. 2 guards stood outside the server room door. When they saw her, they stiffened.
Tehan.
She flashed her badge. Open it. The guards exchanged a look, uncomfortable, guilty even. We were told to restrict access for now until... Open.
The door.
They obeyed. The temperature dropped immediately as they entered. Rows of humming machines lined the room, blue lights blinking rhythmically. It smelled like metal and cold air. Who touched the system after the explosion? She asked. The chief technician stepped forward nervously. Ma'am, the logs say one of your board members, Director Park, requested a remote diagnostics check last night. Remote, she repeated slowly. He doesn't have access to this level. Yes, ma'am, but someone gave him temporary credentials. Obina's eyes sharpened. Who? The tech swallowed. Your assistant. The room froze. Obina's entire body went still, like he'd been carved from stone. Eun-ri's breath left her in a slow, controlled exhale. Her voice, however, cracked slightly. Obina, did you access the server? No, he said instantly. I never. Ma'am, the technician interrupted, displaying the logs on a tablet. His ID was used at 11:43 p.m. Obina shook his head. I was at home. Can anyone access your credentials? She asked.
No.
My badges were with me. My digital pass is encrypted.
Her chest tightened.
Then someone cloned your ID. That takes level 5 access, the technician whispered. Only the board and a few top engineers have that clearance. Eun-ri's hands curled into fists. Director Park. It could be someone framing him, Oh-bin said, trying to steady the rising tension. It could be another board member using Park's name. Or it could be you, the technician blurted, then immediately regretted it. Oh-bin's expression darkened, not offended, but wounded. Eun-ri stepped closer to him. Look at me.
He did.
Did you touch my servers? No, he whispered. I would never do anything to hurt you. The last word slipped out before he could filter it. He froze. She froze. She inhaled. Let's leave. But as they turned to go, one of the guards rushed in.
Seo-han.
Detective Cho is here. He wants to speak with both of you privately. Both. Eun-ri repeated. Yes, ma'am. This was bad. Detective Cho was famous for two things: catching criminals and assuming everyone was one. They met him in her office. Cho was wiry, sharp-eyed, and entirely too perceptive. He looked Oh-bin over once, as if measuring his guilt by posture alone. Mr. Patrick, Cho said, you were at the company early yesterday morning? Yes. And at 6:19 a.m., you were in the basement?
No.
Cho raised a brow. Security footage says otherwise. Oh-bin's muscles tightened, but he forced himself to stay steady. Someone altered the footage. Convenient, the detective muttered. Eun-ri stepped forward. Detective Cho, my staff do not answer loaded questions.
Just my.
CEO Han, is there something you don't want me to find? She held his gaze, cold and unwavering. I want you to find the truth, not the fastest suspect. Cho leaned back, studying them. Explosions aren't just accidents. They involve planning, motive, access. His eyes slid back to Oh-bin. And sometimes ambition. Oh-bin's jaw tightened. If you think I tried to kill my boss, just say it. Cho's eyes glinted. Not yet. The tension in the room became suffocating. Finally, Cho closed his notebook. For now, no one leaves the city. Especially him. He walked out without another word. The office fell silent. Oh-bin turned to Eun-ri slowly. Do you believe I'd do something like this? She stared at him for a long, long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was low and trembling at the edges. I want to. He swallowed hard. Want to believe me? Yes, she whispered. But someone is making that very difficult. His chest tightened painfully, not because she doubted him, but because he saw how much it cost her to admit it. He stepped closer. I'll prove it, whatever it takes. She shook her head faintly. Be careful with promises, Oh-bin. They break too easily. And for the first time, he saw real fear behind her eyes. Not fear of death. Not fear of enemies. Fear of trusting the wrong person. Fear of losing everything she built. Fear of losing him. The night after Detective Cho's interrogation felt longer than any night before it. Even after everyone had gone home, the building hummed with an anxious pulse. Security lights glowed dimly in the halls. The cleaning staff whispered as they worked, glancing nervously at closed office doors. Rumors spread faster than truth ever could. In her office, Eun-ri was still pacing. Her heels tapped rhythmically against the marble floor, echoing off glass walls. She was doing everything she could to keep her mind sharp, but for the first time in years, her thoughts felt tangled. When she turned, she found Oh-bin leaning against the doorframe. He looked tired, not physically, but in a way that came from being misunderstood, cornered, held under suspicion he didn't earn. His white shirt was wrinkled, and 2 buttons near the top had come undone. The shadows under his eyes made him look even more handsome, in a dangerous, vulnerable way. You should go home, she said. So should you. I can't. He stepped inside, closing the door gently behind him. Then I won't either. She rubbed her temples. This isn't a loyalty test, Oh-bin. I know. His voice softened. But you're here. And I'm not leaving you alone tonight. She froze. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't suggestive. It was protective, the kind that slips out of someone who's lost too much and refuses to lose again. She sat down slowly, exhaustion finally forcing her to. He approached the desk. The timestamps, the server logs, the footage, it's too neat. Whoever is framing me isn't sloppy. They're skilled. Intentional. Yes, she murmured. Which means it's someone with power. Someone who knows the system from the inside. And knows how to manipulate you from the outside. She looked at him sharply. Manipulate me? By targeting me, he said. I'm your weakest link. She shook her head. You're not weak. I'm new. I don't have allies here. I'm not protected by rank or history. If someone wants to destabilize you, I'm the easiest one to hit. Her jaw tightened. They underestimated you then. Maybe. He moved a little closer. But don't underestimate how much this affects you either. Her eyes locked onto his. It doesn't affect me. It does. His voice was low, steady. You looked scared today. She inhaled sharply. I wasn't scared. You were, he insisted gently. Just not of the bomb. Not of the board. Not of the detective. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. You were scared of me. Her breath hitched. He continued, softer now. Not because I did something wrong, but because you realized how much you're betting on someone you barely know. Her chest tightened painfully. Stop. You're human, Unri. No. Her eyes glistened faintly, the slight shine of someone holding back too much. I cannot afford to be human. He stepped around the table until he was close enough for her to feel the warmth of his presence. Not touching her, just close enough to steady her. Then let me, he whispered. The words hit her harder than any explosion. For a few seconds, neither of them moved. Then her computer beeped. Both of them turned sharply. Another anonymous message. He tensed. Open it. She clicked. A single sentence appeared again. You still don't know who he really is. Attached. A scanned document. Her eyes widened. It was Obina's employment background check, the one HR had filed. But this version had a red mark. Previous employment. Terminated for internal breach. Her pulse spiked. This wasn't in your file. He came beside her instantly. Because it's fake. You're sure? His jaw clenched. I know what's in my past. And I know the difference between truth and sabotage. She stared at the word terminated. It felt like someone was pounding at the walls she'd built around her trust. He saw her expression and his own breath wavered. Not because she doubted him, but because she could. Do you want me to explain? He asked quietly. She didn't respond. The silence stretched thin and painful. He finally moved away from her, not far, but enough to let her breathe. 2 years ago, I worked for a logistics firm. They accused me of tampering with internal accounts. Her eyes flicked up. I didn't do it, he said. But someone set me up. Same style as this. Same timing. And when I tried to prove my innocence, the company crashed. The real culprit escaped clean. She didn't look away. Not this time. Why didn't you tell HR? She asked. Because HR doesn't care about innocence. They care about liability. And why didn't you tell me? He hesitated. His chest rose. Fell. Because I didn't want my past to become your burden. For the first time that day, her expression softened, painfully so. Before she could speak, her door flew open. Director Kong barged in. Seo-han. His eyes flicked between her and Obina, misreading everything in the worst way. Am I interrupting something? Both of them stiffened instantly. What do you want? Unri said, her voice turning back to steel. Kong smirked. Detective Cho wants to detain Mr. Patrick for further questioning. He believes Obina may have motive. She stood abruptly. You are not detaining my staff without my explicit approval. CEO Han, Kong said slowly, enjoying every second of this. You are emotionally compromised. Your judgment is clouded. Obina's fists clenched. Unri stepped forward, fury radiating off her in waves. If you ever suggest that again, then prove me wrong, Kong snapped. Let him go with the detective. Obina spoke before she could answer. I'll go. Her head whipped toward him. No. It'll look worse if I refuse, he said, voice calm but eyes conflicted. They'll assume I'm hiding something. They're manipulating you. They're manipulating you, he corrected gently. By using me. Her throat tightened. Kong crossed his arms smugly. Everyone's watching, CEO Han. If you want to protect your reputation, you'll let the detective do his job. Eun-ri wanted to strangle him. Obina touched her arm lightly, just 2 fingers, a barely there contact that felt like lightning. It's okay. No, she whispered. It isn't. But he turned to Kong. Let's go. Kang's smile widened. Wonderful. The detective is waiting downstairs. Obina walked toward the door. Eun-ri followed him. I'll come with you. Don't, he said softly. If they see you protecting me, they'll make assumptions you can't undo later. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. I don't care about assumptions. But I do, he whispered. She stopped breathing for a moment. I'll be back, he said, eyes deep, steady, promising something he had no right to promise. I'm not running. I'm not guilty. And I'm not leaving you alone in this mess. Her throat tightened painfully. Obina. He gave her the smallest, saddest smile, the kind that breaks something inside a person. Then he walked out with Kong. She stood frozen, watching the door close behind him. The silence, afterward, felt like a wound. Detective Cho didn't take Obina to a small interview room or a side office. He took him downstairs, past security, past administration, all the way to a cold, dimly lit room used for internal investigations. Thick walls.
No windows.
A single steel table bolted to the floor. It wasn't just questioning. It was intimidation. Cho sat across from him, flipping open a thin file that looked too neat to be innocent. Mr. Patrick, Cho began, you're new to Seoul. New to the company. New to everything here. Yes. And yet you somehow appear on footage connected to a bombing. I didn't plant the bomb. We'll get to that, the detective said calmly. But first, let's talk about your past employment. Obina felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He kept his jaw steady. That file is fake. Is it? Cho tapped the table. Because the company you worked for in Nigeria reports your account was flagged for internal tampering. That's what the real culprit wanted. They used me as a scapegoat. Just like now. Cho asked, tone too smooth. Yes. Cho leaned forward. Convenient pattern you have. Obina's pulse thudded. If I had something to hide, I would have left Korea already. Oh, you're not going anywhere, Cho said with a small smile. Not until I understand why someone with a questionable past ends up at the side of a CEO whose life is suddenly falling apart. Because I got hired. Obina snapped. Because I needed a job. Because I'm good at what I do. Good enough to hack a company server? I didn't hack anything. The shout echoed against the walls. Cho didn't flinch. You seem nervous, he said. Because you're twisting everything I say. Am I? Cho scribbled something in his notebook. So let me ask again. At 6:19 a.m. yesterday morning, where were you? I told you. Outside. Walking. Clearing my head. Why? Because of a personal call. From home? Yes. Cho tapped his pen. And what was the call about? Obina's chest tightened. Hard. My mother, he said quietly. She's sick. Cho paused, the first sign of human reaction. Sick with what? It's complicated. Complicated how? Obina's throat constricted. I don't want to talk about that. Then we're at an impasse, Cho said, leaning back. Because if you can't prove where you were or why, and you won't explain your call, the evidence looks troubling.
Just tu tabali.
Wait here. Obina exhaled slowly as the detective left the room, tension burning through his muscles. The moment the door closed, he dropped his head into his hands.
He wasn't guilty.
He wasn't a threat. And he wasn't stupid. But someone powerful, had decided he would be the perfect fall. And if he didn't find a way to prove himself, this wouldn't just end his job. It would destroy everything. Upstairs, Eun-ri wasn't pacing anymore. She was planning. She had locked her office door and pulled up every internal file she had access to. Footage.
Logs. Personnel history.
Board member meeting notes. Server access timelines. Patterns were forming. Dangerous patterns. Someone wanted her destabilized. Someone with technical access. Someone who knew her schedule intimately. Someone who had read her enough to target Obina because they knew she wouldn't easily let him go. She closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply. She was exhausted, but exhaustion didn't stop her. Never had. She'd built her empire on sleepless nights and relentless perfection. But this wasn't a company crisis. This was a betrayal. Her phone buzzed again, another message from an unknown number. She hesitated before opening it. He's lying to you. Her stomach tightened. Another buzz. Look deeper. Another. You think you're protecting him, but he's the one destroying you. Her fingers trembled slightly. Then another message. Check who recommended him for the PA position. Her blood ran cold. She remembered approving his file in a rush. 3 candidates left, schedules tight, HR pressuring her. She didn't remember who had shortlisted him. She rushed to her HR portal and typed his name. His file popped up. Her eyes scanned quickly. And then she stopped breathing. Recommended by Director Park. Her chest tightened violently. Park, the same board member who had been eager to pin the breach on Obina. Park, the same man who had requested a remote diagnostic check late last night. Park, the man who had hated her leadership for years. He had recommended Obina?
Why?
Her hands shook as she dialed security. Trace Director Park's movements from the last 3 weeks, she ordered. Every building entry. Every late-night login. Every off-the-record meeting. Yes, CEO Han. She hung up, heart pounding. Why would Park recommend a newcomer? Why plant him so close to her? Why frame him? Why set him up to be suspicious? Unless Obina wasn't the weapon. Unless he was the bait. She pressed a hand to her forehead, her pulse a violent rhythm. Everything was too fast. Too messy. Too perfectly planned. She grabbed her blazer and headed straight for the elevator. Downstairs, Detective Cho returned to the interrogation room, closing the door behind him with a quiet click. Mr. Patrick. Obina looked up, eyes tired but sharp. Yes. Cho, Saturday, I spoke to Director Park. Obina tensed.
About what? About you.
His voice had changed, colder. He says you requested server access for a late-night task on your first week. That's a lie. Is it? Yes. Cho stared at him. Director Park also claims you asked him how to bypass certain firewall settings.
What? No.
Why would I? Cho lifted a hand. So, you deny it again. I deny everything he said. Another long silence. Cho leaned forward. You know, you could make this easier by telling me who you really are. I told you who I am. No, Cho's eyes hardened. You told me who you pretend to be. Obina's heart pounded painfully against his ribs. What do you want from me? The truth. You have it. Cho's lips pressed into a thin line. Then help me understand why a respected board member would lie about you. Because he's framing me. For what purpose? I don't know. Obina snapped. Maybe because he's the one targeting the CEO. Cho watched him carefully. Too carefully. You're either incredibly unlucky, the detective murmured, or incredibly dangerous. Obina's chest tightened. Please. Just let me call CEO Han. No. Cho cut in. You don't get to call her. The door opened suddenly. Everyone turned. Unri stood in the doorway. Cold. Elegant. Unmovable. Actually, she said, voice slicing through the tension, he does.
Joseph Daifen. CEO Han.
Step away from my staff. Ma'am, with all due respect. This interrogation is over.
Jo esalet irritabili.
You're obstructing an official. No, she walked inside, heels echoing. I'm preventing a mistake that will cost you your badge. Obina stared at her, stunned, relieved, shaken. Obina, she said softly. Come with me. He rose slowly, eyes never leaving hers.
Jostut.
CEO Han, this is not your choice. It is, she said, because someone is playing with all of us. And I just found the first thread to pull. She looked at Obina, really looked, and something in her expression cracked. Let's go. He followed her out. But the moment the door shut behind them, Cho's phone buzzed with a message from an anonymous sender. He opened it. Don't listen to her. Watch him. Cho's expression darkened. The game wasn't ending. It was just beginning. The elevator ride back to the executive floor was silent, but the silence wasn't empty. It was charged. Eunri stood on one side, arms crossed tightly. Obina stood on the other, hands in his pockets, trying to hide the tremor running through them. The digital floor numbers climbed slowly, too slowly, each beat punching into the thick air between them. When they reached the top floor, she walked out first without looking at him. He followed, unsure if he should speak, unsure if speaking might break whatever fragile control she was holding onto. Inside her office, she shut the door, then leaned against it as if she needed something solid to keep her upright. Sit, she said. He obeyed. She didn't move for several seconds. She just breathed. Controlled. Sharp. Almost painful. Then she finally faced him. I found something. The softness in her tone was gone. This was CEO Han again, the woman who could command nations if she wanted to. About me? He asked quietly. About your file, she replied. About your recruitment. About Director Park. His heartbeat thundered. Tell me. Her eyes locked onto his, searching, measuring, daring him to flinch. Park recommended you. Her voice was steady. I didn't remember that until just now. You came through his shortlist. Obina blinked slowly. I didn't know that. You didn't, she said. Or you pretended not to? He inhaled sharply. Why would I pretend? I don't know, she snapped. Then softer, almost breaking. I don't know. He stood, taking a step toward her, but she lifted her hand. Don't. He froze mid-step. I need clarity, she whispered. Not comfort. He swallowed. Then let me give you clarity. Her eyes narrowed. Why would Director Park recommend you, frame you, then try to get you arrested? I don't know, he whispered. She didn't blink. He repeated, more desperate this time. I don't know. I swear. The weight of her silence pressed on him. Hard. He sat back down slowly. Tell me what you found. She walked to her desk, retrieved a printed copy of his background check, the fake one, the altered one, and set it in front of him. You were never flagged for tampering, she said. Your real file has no red marks. But the one I received today is doctored. Someone altered it to make you look like a repeat offender. He nodded slowly. Which matches the pattern. What pattern? He exhaled shakily. When someone wants to ruin you, they don't attack the present. They rewrite your past. Her breath caught slightly. She sat down across from him. Tell me about your old job, she said. The truth. He hesitated. His fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. It started with missing funds, he said quietly. A small inconsistency. The kind most people ignore. And you, she asked. I reported it. Her eyes flickered. Of course you did. Then bigger numbers went missing. And the moment I questioned it, suddenly the breach was pinned on me. His voice cracked. My access. My login. My signature. Just like here, she whispered. They pushed me out, he continued. My entire team avoided me. Friends stopped talking to me. And when the company collapsed a month later, everyone blamed the internal saboteur. You. Yes. He rubbed his forehead. So, when I got hired here, I promised myself I wouldn't let my past touch this place. I didn't want you to deal with a mess you didn't create. Her eyes softened, but only for a moment before she hardened them again. Why were you really outside at 6:19? She asked. He looked down. My mother fainted again, he said softly. She has a heart condition. I got the call at 5:40 a.m. and... He stopped, jaw tightening. I didn't want to break down in the lobby where your staff could see. So I walked. Eunri's breath trembled. She didn't expect that. She didn't know what to do with that. She opened her mouth, maybe to apologize, maybe to say nothing, when her office phone rang sharply. She picked it up.
Han speaking.
A trembling voice answered. CCO Han, this is security. We have an issue. What issue? There's been unauthorized access to the 47th floor server again. Someone bypassed the firewall 5 minutes ago. Her eyes widened.
Who?
We're not sure, but the log shows 2 IDs were used simultaneously. Her stomach dropped. Which IDs? The guard swallowed audibly through the receiver. Yours and Mr. Patrick's. Eun-ri went still. Obina's face drained of color. That's not possible, he whispered. The guard continued. We're reviewing the cameras now, ma'am. We'll send you the footage. Do it immediately, she said. She hung up slowly. The silence felt like ice cracking. I didn't do this, Obina said, stepping toward her. Don't move, she whispered. He stopped, pained. Her voice was barely audible. Someone is using both of us against each other. His chest tightened. Then we figured out together. I can't risk that, she whispered. His face felt like something inside him had snapped.
Euri.
He rarely said her name. Hearing it now shook her, but she forced herself to look away. Leave the office for tonight, she said, voice trembling despite her attempt at control. Go home. Don't touch any company systems. Don't reply to any messages. Don't speak to anyone. And you, he asked, panic creeping into his voice. I'll handle this. You're pushing me away. I'm protecting myself. And what about me, he whispered. Who protects me? She closed her eyes. I can't protect anyone right now. He stared at her with something between heartbreak and disbelief. Tell me you don't believe I did this, he said quietly. She opened her eyes. The pain in her expression made his knees weaken. I don't want to believe it, she whispered. But someone is working very hard to make sure that I do. His vision blurred. Not with tears. He refused to break in front of her, but with the realization that this was exactly what the enemy wanted. To make him the weapon that destroyed her. He stepped back slowly. I won't disappear, he said. Even if you ask me to. She didn't answer. He lingered in the doorway, wanting to stay, forcing himself to leave. When he was gone, her entire body lowered into her chair, trembling. But before she could even breathe,
Her computer dinged.
a new message. No subject. Just one line. Now you're ready to see the truth. Attached. A new video clip. Eun-ri clicked it, and her eyes widened so sharply they burned. The footage showed Obina, in the server room, last night, touching her main system, with her ID card in his hand.
She gasped.
No, that can't be real. But the camera didn't lie. Or could it? Her pulse hammered. Her breath shook. Her world cracked. And somewhere outside her office door, someone was listening. The video clip kept replaying in her mind long after she stopped the actual playback. Obina, in the server room, late at night, using her ID card. Every frame stabbed her, but her instinct screamed that something was off, the posture, the pacing, the way he moved. Obina always moved with intention, but the person in the clip moved stiffly, almost calculated. Like someone mimicking him. Or like someone wanted her to think it was him. Still, the image wouldn't leave her. Her phone buzzed. A message from security. We traced access to the 47th floor. It came from an internal route. No sign of forced entry. She typed back immediately. Were any cameras disabled? Seconds later.
1. Korridor C 2:14 am.
Someone knew exactly where to move to avoid being caught. Someone who understood the building's surveillance pattern better than most employees. Her stomach twisted. She didn't want to suspect him. But every new piece of evidence tightened the noose around his name. Meanwhile, Obina didn't go home. He sat in the empty break room on the 28th floor, his hands pressed against his face, elbows on the table, trying not to fall apart.
He didn't cry. He didn't break.
But he did feel something hollow rushing through him. A mix of fear, betrayal, and the ache of losing something he hadn't even fully gained yet. He heard footsteps approaching before he saw anyone. When he lifted his head, he found Minji standing in the doorway. She looked hesitant, eyes darting nervously. Mr. Patrick, she said, twisting her fingers. I didn't see you at the lobby. I thought you left. I should have, he said quietly. But I can't leave when everything feels wrong. She swallowed. CEO Han, she looked very upset when she went back to her office. He closed his eyes. She saw something. Something about you? His breath trembled. Yes. Minji hesitated, then stepped closer. Can I tell you something? It might not mean anything, but earlier today, I saw Director Park talking with one of the senior IT guys. They stopped talking the moment I walked past. Obina's eyes snapped open. Which IT guy? I don't know. I didn't see his face. But, she paused, then added in a whisper. Park looked too confident. Obina stood slowly. Thank you. Don't tell anyone you spoke to me. I won't, she whispered. I hope everything turns out okay. He nodded, but he didn't believe it. Not yet. The hallways felt different now. Shadows stretched longer. Silence felt heavier. Even the air seemed colder. Someone wanted him destroyed. And they were good at it. He needed to get ahead of them, before they tightened the net completely. Back upstairs, Eunri couldn't sit still any longer. She opened her office door and walked quickly down the hall toward the restricted stairwell. She needed to see the server room again. Not the logs. Not the reports. The actual space. The physical layout. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor. Halfway down the quiet corridor, her phone buzzed again. A new message. From the same unknown number. Her breath caught. Do you want to see what he did next? Attached, another clip. She stopped walking. Her pulse roared in her ears. Her fingers trembled only once before she pressed play. This time, the footage showed the figure, again looking exactly like Obina, inserting a device into her encrypted system. A small, black drive. The exact kind used for data extraction. Her breath hitched. No. 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 It didn't make sense. She replayed it. Slowed it down. Paused between frames. And then she saw it. A detail so small she almost missed it. The hands of the person in the video, had a faint scar running along the knuckle. Obina didn't have that scar. Her breath rushed out in a shaky exhale. Someone cloned him. Someone intentionally filmed a fake version of him. Someone wanted her to see this. Who the hell are you? She whispered. The hallway light flickered suddenly. She whipped around. No one was there. But something told her she was being watched. She quickened her steps and reached the stairwell. When she pushed the door open, Obina was already there, standing at the bottom of the stairs, hands in his pockets, looking up at her with an expression that tore right through her chest. Raw, tired, hurt, and yet hopeful. I knew you'd come here, he said softly. She froze in the doorway. He took one step up. Slowly, carefully, as if approaching a frightened animal. Talk to me, he whispered. She shook her head, breath shaking. I can't. You have to, he said. Because the longer we stay silent, the more they win. She looked away. I saw another video. He exhaled shakily. Of course you did. It showed you. It showed someone pretending to be me, he said calmly. Someone who wants you to believe I'm the enemy. Her eyes watered, barely, but he saw it. He always saw the things she tried to hide. He stepped up one more stair. What did you notice? You wouldn't be here if you believed it completely. She hesitated, then whispered. The scar. He nodded once. I don't have that scar. Her jaw tightened. No, you don't. That single shred of truth softened the ice in her gaze. Just a little. You should hate me right now, he murmured. But you don't. Don't tell me what I feel, she whispered, looking away again. He stepped even closer. He was now one step below her, close enough to touch her, but refusing to. Then tell me, he said, voice almost breaking. What do you feel? Her breath trembled. Conflicted. About me? Yes. He swallowed. Good. That means you haven't given up on me yet. Her eyes snapped back to his. Don't assume that. I won't. His voice softened. But I'll hope for it. Silence wrapped around them. Thick. Heavy. Electric. Just then her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't anonymous. It was security. A trembling voice said, CO Han, we found something. What is it? A fingerprint on the server room door. fresh. He paused. It doesn't belong to Mr. Patrick. Obina's eyes widened. Eunri's breath shook. Whose is it? She demanded. The guard hesitated, then spoke the last name she expected. Director Park, ma'am. Obina's chest expanded sharply. Eunri closed her eyes, exhaling a breath that felt like a breaking dam. Footsteps echoed above them on the stairwell landing. Someone was here, listening, watching. Before either of them could react, a silhouette appeared at the top of the stairs. Director Park, smiling, cold, as if everything was happening exactly the way he wanted. Evening, CEO Han, he said. Mr. Patrick. Troubles, I see. Eunri's blood froze. Obina stepped instinctively closer to her, but Park only smiled wider. You're looking in the wrong place, he said softly. You think you've uncovered something tonight. He leaned forward slightly, but you haven't even scratched the surface. Director Park descended the stairs slowly, confidently, like a man who had already decided how the end of this story would be written. Eunri stepped forward, placing herself slightly in front of Obina without thinking. The protective gesture wasn't intentional, it was instinct. Park noticed and smiled. How touching, he murmured. The CEO still defending the man accused of sabotaging her. Obina clenched his jaw. Stop pretending you're innocent. Park chuckled. Innocence is a game for the weak. I prefer control. Eunri's eyes hardened. Your fingerprint was found on the server room door, Park. And we have footage. Oh, please. Park waved a dismissive hand. Your security systems are embarrassingly easy to manipulate. I could make them show you dancing on that table if I wanted. Obina stepped forward. Why me? Park's smile darkened. Why not you? You were perfect. A wild card. Unknown. Far from home. Easy to isolate. Easy to blame. And easy to discard, Obina muttered. Exactly. Park leaned in slightly. But the real reason? Because he tilted his head toward Eunri, trusted you. And I wanted her to doubt everything she relies on. Eunri's heart thudded painfully. This was about destabilizing me, she said. It was about removing you, Park corrected. Your board wants a puppet. You refuse to be one. So I created a crisis big enough to make the shareholders panic. A CEO under attack?
A suspicious spa? A bomb.
He laughed softly. People don't question much when they're afraid. Obina shook with anger. You tried to get her killed. No, Park said calmly. Just frightened. Death would be messy. Fear is cleaner. That sentence burrowed under Eunri's skin. You're insane, she whispered. Park shrugged. Successful people often look insane to those without vision. He glanced at Obina. Your role was simple. Be suspicious. Be untrustworthy. Let her slowly pull away. Obina felt something inside him twist painfully. And when she finally breaks, Park continued, the board will remove her for incompetence. Then I step in. Quiet. Seamless. Elegant. Eunri narrowed her eyes. You overplayed your hand. Did I? He asked softly. He reached into his pocket. Obina moved immediately, stepping protectively in front of her. But Park only pulled out a tablet. Before you decide you've caught me, he said, tapping the screen, you should see this. He held it up. Eunri's stomach lurched. A video. Of her. At her desk. Late at night. Alone. Her hand shaking as she pressed a palm to her eyes. The moment she let herself unravel for 3 seconds, when no one was supposed to be watching. Obina's breath caught.
Eunri frase, mortified.
That moment wasn't meant for anyone. Not for Park. Not for the board. Not even for herself. Park smiled at her shame. You see, he whispered. You're slipping, CEO Han. And I have proof. He stepped closer, voice low. One leak of this clip and your reputation collapses. The Ice Queen showing weakness? The investors will devour you. Eunri's nails dug into her palms. Her fear wasn't for herself. It was for what that kind of exposure would do to the company she'd spent her life building. And Park knew that. He always attacked where she couldn't defend. But don't worry, Park said. Your secret is safe. If, he tapped the tablet again. If you resign quietly at the next board meeting. Silence. Obina's voice was quiet and lethal. You really think she'll bow to you? Oh, she will, Park said. For the company. For her pride. For all those years she clawed her way to the top. Eun-ri couldn't breathe. She felt trapped, not by the threat itself, but by the truth inside it. For once, Park wasn't wrong. She would sacrifice herself for the company. But then, Obina stepped forward. No, he said. Park arched a brow. Oh, does the accused have an opinion? She won't resign, Obina said. Because you're not exposing anything.
Park smirked.
And why not? Obina's voice dropped. Because you don't have the only copy. Park froze. Obina reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black drive. Eun-ri's breath caught. That is her private footage, Park snapped. You stole it. No, Obina said calmly. I found it. Park's face twisted.
Impossible.
I followed you, Obina said. The night you manipulated the camera footage. You thought Corridor C was blind. His voice deepened, steady and dangerous. It wasn't. Park's composure cracked. You watched me? Yes, Obina said. I didn't know what you were doing, but I knew something was wrong. He stepped closer, leveling their gazes. You're sloppy when you think you're winning. Eun-ri's chest tightened. He'd stayed silent about it. All this time. To protect her. To protect himself. To avoid escalating the war too soon. Park was shaking now, barely but visibly. You don't understand what you're doing, Park said. I understand perfectly. Obina raised the drive. You framed me. You targeted her. You tried to isolate us.
But now?
We have your fingerprints, your access logs, your camera tampering, and he held the drive up slightly, your blackmail attempt. Eun-ri finally stepped forward, voice sharp as broken glass. You lose, Park. Park swallowed. You wouldn't dare expose me. Oh, I would, she said. And I will. For the first time, Director Park looked afraid. He straightened his suit shakily.
Fine. Fine.
You think you've won? This isn't over.
No, she said.
It is. Obina stepped closer to Park, his voice quiet and chilling. If you ever come near her again, even once, I will finish what the justice system fails to. Park paled, then backed away, stumbling slightly before turning and rushing out of the stairwell. The moment he disappeared, Eun-ri exhaled shakily. The tension broke. Her knees weakened. Obina reached for her, gently, carefully, catching her before she could collapse fully. I've got you, he whispered. She closed her eyes, letting herself breathe against him. Just once. Just this once. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were wet, not tears, but something raw. You knew, she whispered. You knew he was after me.
Why didn't you tell me?
He swallowed. Because I didn't want to make things worse. And because he hesitated, voice trembling. Because I wasn't sure if you would believe me. She stared at him. Truly stared, seeing all of him at once. His strength. His fear. His loyalty. His heart. Obina. He stepped closer. I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. She hesitated, then reached up and touched his face. A small touch. A fragile one. He leaned into it, eyes closing for a moment. They stood there, between danger and stillness, suspended in a space only the two of them understood. Finally, he whispered, Tell me what you're thinking. She laughed softly, a sound she didn't know she still had. That this is the worst and best day of my life. His forehead touched hers gently. Mine too. When she opened her eyes, she didn't pull away. She didn't hide. She let herself feel. You saved me, she whispered. You saved me first, he murmured. Her breath trembled. Then finally, she kissed him.
Soft. Slow. Certain.
Not born of fear. Born of choice. When they pulled back, she whispered, We rebuild tomorrow. He smiled. Together? Yes, she said. Together. As they walked out of the stairwell hand in hand, a new message buzzed on her phone, but she didn't look at it. Not tonight. Tonight, she had chosen trust. And it had chosen her back. The evidence lied, but your support never does. If this story touched you, or kept you guessing till the end, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to Afro-Korean Tales, because more twists, more love, and more fire are on the way.